2015 meeting of the Dover City Council. I'd ask you to please rise and join for the invocation by Chaplain Wallace Dixon, followed by the pledge to our nation's flag, which will be led by Councilman Roy Sudler.
Father and our God, we thank you for this day. Even though the weather is kind of inclement, it still allows us to move around. And we thank you for your blessings that you've given us. Now we're asking you to bless this meeting, be a part of this meeting, and let nothing happen that you don't want to happen. And we're going to give your name and praise. Amen and amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Gentlemen, you have before you this evening's agenda. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Mr. President, if there's no deletions or additions, I'll move for the approval of the agenda as presented.
Second.
Been moved by Councilman Hutchison, seconded by Councilman Sudler to approve the agenda as presented. Is there any further discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries unanimously. I'll now entertain it. We now have before us the consent agenda. Those items on the council agenda which are considered routine and non-controversial are marked with an asterisk and will be acted upon by a single roll call vote of the council. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a member of council so requests, in which event the matter shall be removed from the consent agenda and considered a separate item. What is the pleasure of council? Councilman Hutchison.
I'd like to have item number 6 removed, please.
So moved. Second.
Are there any other items? Been moved by Councilman Sudler to approve the consent agenda as amended with item number 6 coming off the consent agenda. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Anderson. Any further discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Sudler?
Yes.
Mr. Neal?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Hare?
Yes.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Slater?
Yes, motion carries unanimously. Our first item number 2 is a proclamation for Black History Month. I would request the city clerk to read the proclamation into the record.
Whereas Dr. Carter G. Woodson, the son of former slaves and a Harvard University scholar, noticed that Black history was largely ignored or misrepresented in American history. Determined that the rich heritage of Black Americans would not be forgotten, he founded the Association for the Study of African American Life and History in 1915 and organized the first celebration of Negro History Week in 1926. Black History Month became Dr. Woodson's legacy and is celebrated each February throughout the United States. And whereas the Association for the Study of African American Life and History has selected hallowed grounds, sites of African American memories as a 2016 National Black History Month theme. And whereas the small state of Delaware has played a big part in the lives of African Americans seeking freedom, and the greater Dover area is the setting of many stories that demonstrate the courage of the men and women who sought to break the shackles of slavery and fought with fortitude for equal citizenship. Some of these notable sites include the First State Heritage Park, the Harriet Tubman Underground Railroad Byway, the John Dickinson Plantation, and the Camden Friends Meeting House. Now therefore, I, Robin R. Christensen, Mayor of the City of Dover, Delaware, do hereby proclaim February 2016 as Black History Month in the City of Dover, and urge all citizens to visit and learn about the local, state, and national sites that reflect the rich history of African Americans.
Thank you. Item number 3 is a public hearing, a violation of the dangerous building ordinance, an emergency case for property located at 53 South New Street owned by Seacon Investments, LLC. Mrs. Townsend, would you please brief council on this item?
Thank you. Again, this is coming forward as an emergency case, so we'll briefly go through why we're bringing the building forward. On January 15th, there was a fire at this residence. It was condemned as unfit for human habitation on the 16th due to the severe damage caused by the fire. Utilities, electric, gas were terminated that day. Again, it's being brought forward because it was unfit for habitation. It's a concern for general welfare and the fire damage. This is the code citation for emergency cases. In cases where it reasonably appears that there is an immediate danger to life or safety of any person unless a dangerous building is immediately repaired, vacated, and closed or demolished, the building inspector will report it to council, and that's what brings us here this evening. Why are we considering it an emergency case? The extent of the fire damage, the proximity to the neighboring building, and the fact that in the just over a week since the fire, we've found the building to be unsecured on multiple occasions. We want to make sure that this gets remedied quickly. This is the property, again, 53 South New Street. You can see where the siding on the building immediately to the south is melted off. I can only show the exterior photos because it is an active fire investigation, so I can't show the interior, but I can tell you that it is a total loss on the inside. This is the rear of the building, and this is one of the areas where it's hard to keep secure because the wood is so charred. You can see, again, you can see the siding on the adjacent building, and you can see here where the board, the lower board on the window has been removed. This is the area where people have been getting in, and again, and that's the board that was removed. Because this is such a tight area and buildings are so close together, you can see what the fire has already done to the adjacent property and the extent of the damage. The concern is that if this is not remedied quickly, that you will have perhaps another fire or some other situation that causes the building to collapse or life to be lost. So again, these are just some pictures from the outside. We have been in contact with the property owner. They've been in contact with their insurance company. My hope is that the city does not have to use city funds for the demolition, that can be worked through the insurance company. So we have been in active communication with the property owner, and we'll do our best to get it taken care of that way. But what we wanted to make sure is that this doesn't sit for a long time and create a hazard to the community. So with that, we're recommending that City Council declare the building and any accessory structures on the property dangerous, to order that the property owner repair or demolish by February 10th. Again, this is a one incident. This isn't an issue where we've had a chronic code violation issue. This is because of the extent of the fire. I do believe that they are looking to demolish, but if their insurance company and they determine that they're going to repair, if we can get everything together in the next couple of weeks, that would be acceptable. If within 10 days of the date set by council, the property has not been, the repairs haven't started or the demolition hasn't started, we would move forward with the city having the demolition and then, place a lien as we normally do. So again, this is before you because there was a fire, there's extensive damage, it's very close to the neighboring property, and we have had issues with people getting in, so.
Questions for Mrs. Townsend? Councilman Sutherland.
Yes. Due to the prior properties that's been brought to City Council's attention with the language to demolish, why repair or demolish versus just demolish?
Because, again, this is not, the other cases that we bring forward, it's where we have been trying to work with the property owner for months, sometimes longer, sometimes years, to be able to get the properties to be repaired. In this case, the property was lived in, there were people there. They had actually just completed a number of corrections from a housing inspection, and there was a fire. So it wasn't an issue of an unresponsive property owner, it was an issue of a fire, and that happened literally 10 days ago. And as we're sorting through things with the owner and their insurance company, we thought that it would be responsible to allow that as an option if council so chooses.
Right. How do you define unresponsive property owner? 30 days, 60 days? How do you respond? How do you respond?
Again, again, this isn't the case on this structure, but in most of what we bring forward, we've had ongoing code enforcement for months, sometimes years, and repairs aren't made. That's what I consider unresponsive.
Okay, ongoing for months. Okay, thank you.
Councilman Anderson.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. Mrs. Townsend, just one question. Unless I hear something radically different at the public hearing, like you got the wrong address by mistake, obviously this needs to go, and it's a public safety issue. My only question is legally, you said you had contact. What methods of contact have been were used
Well,
to
we
contact the owners? Give them proper notice?
there was a letter dated January 19th that was sent by certified mail and regular mail and posted on the property. The day after the fire, I actually spoke directly to the property owner out at the site and let him know that we would be pursuing this path. Our fire marshal's office has been in contact with the property owner and the insurance investigator relating to the fire itself. And then this afternoon, the owner called and indicated that they were not planning to come tonight, but wanted for me to know that they have shared the letter that was sent to them with their insurance company, and they are working with their insurance company to
Terrific.
move it forward.
Terrific. And one final question. Were there any injuries in the fire? Or
Thankfully, there were no injuries.
none of that? Thanks.
Councilman Sutler.
How long has this property has not been in compliance or been an issue?
It's not that it hasn't been in compliance, it's that on January 15th, there was a significant fire.
Oh, just 2016,
Yes.
January 15th?
Last week, or
Wow.
Thursday, it was a Thursday evening, there was a fire, and because of the extent of the damage, the proximity to the neighboring property, and the fact that people are taking the boards off and getting in, that's why it's coming forward tonight as an emergency case.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions for Mrs. Townsend? Thank you, Mrs. Townsend. I'll now go ahead and declare the public hearing open. Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of declaring this property dangerous? Speak in favor of declaring the property dangerous. Is there anyone who would like to come forward and speak against declaring this property dangerous? Is there anyone who would like to come forward and speak against declaring this property dangerous? I'll declare the public hearing closed. What is the pleasure of council? Councilman Harris.
I move to accept staff recommendation.
Second.
Been moved by Councilman Hare and seconded by Councilman Sudler to accept the staff recommendation. Staff recommendation is declaring the building and all accessory structures on the property dangerous, ordering the property demolished or repaired by February 10th, 2016 by the owner or the equity owner at their own risk, ordering the building inspector to cause the demolition of the structures if not completed by the owner within 10 days, and ordering the city manager with the assistance of the city solicitor to cause the cost of demolition to be charged against the land on which the building exists as a municipal lien, or cause such cost to be added to the tax duplicate as an assessment. Any questions on the motion?
I have a question. I'm sorry.
Councilman Sutler.
I'd like to rescind my second because I would like for the property to be demolished,
That's what this is.
not repaired, but demolished.
Sutler has rescinded his second. I need a second on the motion.
Second.
Councilman Neal has seconded the motion. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Sudler?
No.
Mr. Neal?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Hare?
Yes.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Yes, motion carries 7-1. Next item on our agenda is item number 5, Legislative Finance and Administration Committee Report for January 11th, 2016. Item A, proposed ordinance 2016-01 pertaining to the keeping of domestic animals. I'll defer to Legislative Finance and Committee Chair, Councilman Hare.
I'll just make this very short. What I'm proposing is that we refer this back to committee for a few refinements, you might say. It was discussed, and we've had some calls, and we think we've got some changes to be made that I think we'll bring it back to committee at the next meeting, and then with these changes. So I move that we refer this back to committee and have it on our agenda for the next committee meetings, not tomorrow, but in
Seconded.
February.
Motion's been made by Councilman Hare and seconded by Councilman Hutchison to refer the item back to the Legislative Finance and Administration Committee. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries unanimously. I'll now entertain a motion to accept the Legislative Finance and Administration Committee report.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved by Councilman Sudler and seconded by Councilman Hare. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item number 6 was requested to be pulled off of the consent agenda by Councilman Hutchison. Councilman Hutchison, quarterly
President,
revenue
thank you very
report.
much. I would like to ask Ms. Mitchell, would you give us a breakdown on the overview of this report that you gave?
You're referring to the transfer taxes that you, okay. The transfer taxes are over budget by about $900,000, and it's made up of a few large receipts from commercial businesses that have sold. I will give you a breakdown a little bit. Cedar Chase Apartments was $243,000, Country Club was $288,000, and State Street Assisted Living was $321,000, and then there was a couple smaller ones, but in total it was about $948,000. If we hadn't had those large receipts included in the year-to-date numbers, we would be right on budget with the transfer taxes, but we're 120% of budget through December because of those transfer taxes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Any further questions for Mrs. Mitchell? I will entertain a motion to approve the report from Mrs. Mitchell, the quarterly revenue report.
So moved.
Been moved by Councilman Anderson,
Second.
seconded by Councilman Hutchison. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item 7A, evaluation of bids, master electrician. Mr. Koenig, would you please brief council on this item?
Thank you, Mr. Slavin. In the packet is a request from the Electric Department regarding the services of a master electrician. These services are occasionally used by both the Electric Department and the Public Works Department, and typically relate to conversions of house services from 100 amp to 200 amp services, as well as emergency work, sometimes in pump stations or wells related to the Public Works Department. Bids were solicited and advertised by the city's procurement manager. The city received two bids from vendors. One was DeVary Electric, one was White Marsh Environmental. Staff has analyzed the bids and run it through an estimated calculation. And based on their estimated scenarios, they believe DeVary Electric is the low bidder for the services, for both service conversion as well as hourly rates. It's expected that these expenditures may exceed $25,000 annually. Therefore, we are looking for council endorsement of the contract for a 3-year period with options to extend for additional 2 years. DeVary is the current provider, and in FY16 to date, we've spent about $1,500. FY15, we spent $10,000. FY14, we spent just under $10,000. However, because we're proposing to do some overhead to underground electric services over the next few years in areas like Town Point, we believe that we should get council approval for the blanket bid for the master electrician services contract. And again, staff is recommending that we award the contract to DeVary Electric. Be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Mr. Koenig? Councilman Hare.
This was something that I think we discussed before. We're going to have it might go over 25,000, or we're going to have something where at some point it'll come back to council to say that, okay, we're $15,000 over the 25, so we can,
Yeah, we're requesting a blanket approval from council, so we anticipate that in FY16, FY17, and FY18, we may expend more than $25,000 each year. So we would not be coming back to council in the 3-year period. These expenses are typically charged to projects that are authorized in the budget, or they're for emergency work that is paid for under the operating budget. So we would not be proposing to come back to council regarding master electrician services until 3 years or as many as 5 years from now.
well, I'm not saying come back for a no. I'd just like to know at what point will we be advised that, okay, this $25,000 contract, we've now spent $80,000 for this year. I mean, I just don't want to have to just let it say, okay, here's a blanket, let's forget about it. I think if it gets to a point where it's 20% over what the 25,000, that we'll get an update, be brought back, said, okay, on this year that here's why we're over, whatever, so we
A
can.
point of clarification on your question. The 25,000 is not the budgeted amount. The budgeted amount that's already approved is placed in a different project.
Right.
Okay, but it's the amount that we're spending, the 25,000.
Right,
If
where-
we've already got it budgeted, then wouldn't 25,000 cover what's in the budget?
We're here because we're anticipating expending more than $25,000, which would require council approval. So if you would like to cap it at, $75,000 or $100,000, that's fine, but there's really no reason to cap it at 10% over the $25,000, because these costs that are associated with these services are already in projected project budgets or emergency services that would be needed. So it's two separate issues as far as I'm concerned.
Councilman Sutherland.
Yes, City Manager, Mr. Koenig, what is the differential advantage of the lowest blanket bidder versus the highest blanket bidder in services? The differential
So-
advantage.
In the table on the action form, for example, a 100 to 200 amp service conversion, the low bidder is about $650 lower than the high bidder. And the hourly, the 8-hour rate is about $200 total lower.
Thank you very much.
Other questions for staff? What is the pleasure of council? Councilman Sutherland.
Move to accept staff recommendation.
Second.
Been moved by Councilman Sutherland and seconded by Councilman Anderson to accept staff recommendation on the awarding of a blanket master electrician services contract to DeVary Contract. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Yes.
Councilman Anderson.
Thank you. I definitely favor this. It seems very reasonable. But I'd just like to ask for the record that the Legislative and Finance Committee just be kept up to date periodically on how much money is being spent on the contracts. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Anderson. Any further discussion on the motion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Sutherland?
Yes.
Mr. Neal?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Hare?
Yes.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Yes, motion carries unanimously. Item 7B is evaluation of bids for environmental services. Mr. Koenig.
Thank you again. This is a similar approach to environmental services required across the city. Compliance Environmental is our current vendor for these types of services. These are typically consulting services that are related to time and materials. These environmental services include things like soil sampling, cleanup activities related to leaks on transformers. They've been related to cleanup activities related to broken hydraulic lines on trash trucks. This also covers our asbestos sampling and bid specifications, as well as oversight of asbestos removal for demolitions. Staff solicited bids in accordance with city policy using our procurement manager. 2 companies submitted bids based on the evaluation of the staff. They're proposing to offer a 3-year contract to Compliance Environmental because of their location and their qualifications. There would also be an additional 2-year period that could be extended provided the vendor is performing up to expectations. These services have routinely exceeded $25,000 per year in recent years. In fact, over the last 3 years, and like I said, Compliance is the current contractor. FY14 total expenses for Compliance Environmental across the city were $193,840.50. FY15, $178,000.30, and to date in FY16, $87,603.50. A large majority of that appears related to demolitions and asbestos removal related to our active demolition program. I'd be happy to answer any questions, but we are in full concurrence from the staff level of Compliance Environmental for a recommendation of a 3-year contract with no minimums.
Thank you, Mr. Koenig. Councilman Sutherland.
Yes, City Manager Koenig, how many other environmental services have been explored in the city and county in regards to these services being rendered to the city of Dover?
We received bids from 2 companies. This is very much specialty work, so we do not get responses from, for say, 10 vendors because of the technical expertise associated with this. So it does go out to public advertisement, but there's relatively small amount of firms that specialize in this work. So in this case, our bid proposal, we only received 2 bids from qualified.
Okay, so only 2 bids came in, so you only had 2 options, so
Correct.
1 out of 2.
Yes.
In your opinion, professional opinion, why do you feel as though there's only 2? There's only 2 companies out of the state of Delaware that can provide these services to us?
There were 2 people that responded to our request. So there may be additional companies that are qualified that did not have an interest. They were busy at the time of the bids, or they felt that their prices were not going to be competitive with people submitting.
Is our solicitation process statewide?
I think it actually depends on which, we post to the website so anybody across the nation can see that posting if they're looking for it.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Other questions from members of staff? Councilman Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Please direct this. Mr. Koenig, just a curiosity, usually listed are the bids, how much each bid was. I don't see it in our packet. That was the one curiosity that I had with this particular contract.
The actual response is a qualifications package that was probably 25 or 30 pages each, so there was binders that were submitted. So we did not include that in the packet.
Okay, so it's quite different. So it's not. So the cost is it's a qualification instead of a cost bid.
Yeah, this is more of a qualification-based procurement. So, Compliance may have bid an hourly rate of X dollars, and The other vendor may have been Y dollars. In the end, compliance may be plus or minus the number of hours, so it's really a qualifications-based solicitation for professional services.
Right? Thank you.
Councilman Sutherland.
In regards to the qualification procurement, what was the major and outstanding difference that led you to want to go with environmental services? Because I do believe that environmental services has been awarded this award bid for how long?
Gosh, I would say we've been working with compliance for at least 10 to 15 years.
10 to 15 years?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
what was the major difference from the secondary that leads you to want to continue to do services, to want us as a city to continue to do services with environmental?
The staff conclusion identified in the action form was Compliance Environmental has more experience in the field and was determined to be more experienced in environmental activities related to electrical and public works. Both companies expressed the ability to meet the 2-hour response time. However, in addition, Compliance is a local company with an office in Dover. Envirotech is based in Milton, Delaware, but serves clients in Dover. So they felt that qualifications-based related to electrical and public works activities, Compliance was more qualified. In addition, Compliance produced verification of more certifications in the areas related to city operations.
And my final question is, what scale are you using to define and measure that they are more qualified? What scale?
Mr. Sudler, I don't have that scale with me, but it was based on what they sent out as the request for proposal.
Versus what, I mean, like, for example, if I say I provide better services in this area versus my competitor, how do they justify that, and how do we as a city validate that and say that you're right, you provide better services, you're more qualified, and you have more experiences versus your competitor? That's what I'm looking at.
Mr. Sudler, I think the staff recommendation was based on the review of the submissions for each vendor.
Thank you.
Councilman Hare.
I think another point would be that when you put the bid out and they both come back and they say they can do this and they can do, if I've been doing something for you for 15, 20 years, been doing it satisfactorily and successfully, the new company comes in and says, well, I can do that too, but I'm a little more expensive. Who are you going to go with? And I think that's where staff made the decision that we've been good where we are and they're the least expensive. Why, if it's not fixed, if it's not broken, don't fix it.
Other questions for staff?
All right, Mr. Connie?
I would tend to agree with you.
Okay.
What is the pleasure of council?
Move to accept staff recommendation.
Second.
Been moved by Councilman Hare, seconded by Councilman Neal to accept staff recommendation for blanket contract for environmental services to Compliance Environmental. Any questions on the motion? Councilman Anderson.
Hi, thank you, Mr. President. I wish there were just a little clearer on the criteria used to select it. It makes me a little uneasy. I'm not happy with that aspect. Yeah, if we can look at that in the future. I'm still going to vote for it because I trust the staff to know what they're doing on this one. Yeah, but I do have an unease with this. Thank you.
Councilman Sutherland.
For the record, I will be voting because I do, as my colleague, Councilman David Anderson, 4th District Rep, has specified that I'm going to vote for it. But in the future, I would like to see some physical data to back up staff recommendation so I can explain to my constituents that this is the best decision I'm going to make, not off a blind decision with no statistical data in front of me. Thank you.
Yeah,
Any other questions or comments? Councilman Anderson.
Thank you. And it's not trying to pick on anyone, but this is a $200,000 decision. And when it's that level, believe it or not, people will ask us questions. And,
Right.
I don't know, and it's good to have some answers. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Sledford?
Yes.
Mr. Neal?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Hare?
Yes.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Slavin?
Yes, motion passes unanimously. Item number 9 is first reading is offered on the following proposed ordinances. It is recommended that a public hearing be scheduled before the Planning Commission on February 16, 2016 at 7 p.m. and that a public hearing before City Council be set for Monday, March 14, 2016 at 7:30 p.m., at which time the second readings and final action by council will take place. Copies of the proposed ordinances are available at the entrance of council chambers or can be obtained from the city clerk's office. This ordinance 2016-01, has been referred back to committee by council earlier in this meeting. There is no action taken. Item 9B is ordinance 2016-02, amending the 2008 comprehensive plan. Mrs. Townsend, would you please brief council on this?
Yes, every year, we allow the opportunity for property owners to request amendments to the comprehensive plan. So this year, we had a deadline in the middle of December. We had 2 applicants who requested comprehensive plan amendments that go with the subsequent rezoning requests, and then staff, in preparation for the annexation and rezoning of the Dover International Speedway properties, has also included an amendment to the comprehensive plan so that the recreation and commercial zoning amendments that were recently approved by City Council will apply to the entirety of the festival lands. So there are 3 map amendments, 2 requested by property owners, 1 being brought forward by staff.
Questions for Mrs. Townsend? If there are no questions or proposed amendments, I'll entertain a motion for its referral as recommended.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Sudler, seconded by Councilman Hare. Is there any discussion of the motion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. I will now defer to the city clerk for the introduction of the proposed ordinance in accordance with section 1-9 of the Dover Code. Madam Clerk?
Ordinance number 2016-02, amending the 2008 comprehensive plan as amended by replacing map 12.1 land development plan, proposed revisions to land use classification of multiple properties. This constitutes the first reading. The final reading is scheduled to take place on March 14, 2016.
Agenda item 9C, ordinance 2016-03, rezoning request for lands of Kesselring Company LLC and others located west of New Burton Road and the railroad corridor, and including the property located at 1436 New Burton Road. Mrs. Townsend.
Thank you. This is a rezoning request associated with the comprehensive plan amendment request for the Kesselring property. And again, it would be processed at the same time and kind of in conjunction with the comprehensive plan amendment.
Questions for staff? If there are no questions or proposed amendments, I will entertain a motion for its referral as recommended.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Neal.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Cole. Any discussion of the motion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. I would ask the city clerk to now, for the introduction of the proposed ordinance.
Ordinance number 2016-03, amending the zoning ordinance and zoning map of the city of Dover by changing the zoning designation of property located west of New Burton Road and the railroad corridor, and including the property located at 1436 New Burton Road. This constitutes the first reading. The final reading is scheduled to take place on March 14, 2016.
Thank you. Agenda item 9D Ordinance 2016-04, rezoning request for property located at 834 South State Street, owned by Michael W. and Winifred M. Braun. Mrs. Townsend.
Thank you. Again, this is a rezoning request that is associated with the comprehensive plan amendment request for a property on South State Street that is currently residential, R8 zoning, and the plan amendment request is to change it to office, and the rezoning request would change it to CPO, which is commercial and professional office. So the rezoning request will be processed in conjunction with the land development plan amendment.
Questions for Mrs. Townsend? Councilman Hare.
Where is that property located? I mean, which property is it exactly?
It's, I believe it's like 2 houses down from the old Steele's Pharmacy.
So this is 17,000 square feet, so I'm just kind of trying to picture which house that is.
It's a white house. It's been vacant for a number of years.
Other questions for staff? If there are no further questions or proposed amendments, I will entertain a motion for its referral as recommended.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Neal and seconded by Councilman Lewis. Is there any discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. I will now defer to the city clerk for the introduction of the proposed ordinance in accordance with Section 1-1 of the code.
Ordinance number 2016-04, amending the zoning ordinance and zoning map of the city of Dover by changing the zoning designation of property located at 834 South State Street. This constitutes the first reading. The final reading is scheduled to take place on March 14, 2016.
Agenda item number 10, council member announcements. Councilman Sutler.
Yes, to all of my constituents and individuals in the city of Dover, if you oppose the death penalty, please join me at Legislative Hall this Thursday, I do believe between 2 and 3 p.m. or 4, in regards to opposing the death penalty, in support of House Representative, 31st District House Representative Sean Lynn, in regards to opposing the death penalty. Second, I want to send out a warm and heartfelt condolences to my dear friend, Vernon Austin Jr., his family, Vernon Austin Jr. Sr., and Bobby Austin, and Nikki Austin, and his younger brother. Vernon Austin Jr. went to Dover High with me, and he also he's a senator, but he wrestled. But he passed away this weekend shoveling snow, and he shoveled his neighbor's snow before he shoveled his own, and went in the house and had a heart attack and passed away. He's a dear friend of mine. We were in math class together at Dover High. We're both senators. And I just want to send my condolences and let the whole city of Dover know that guy was a great guy. He's also he was a police officer in Washington, D.C., the capital, and he will be missed. The last time I spoke with him and spent time with him was the Christmas Eve at McGlynn's. People who know me, I go to McGlynn's at times and have a good time with my friends. And he's a good friend of mine, and I feel really bad. And I just want to say that we have to be careful in severe weather storms, that we take care of ourselves, check up on ourselves, and just let our loved ones know that we love each other and care about each other. So I just want to say to the Austin family that the Michoud and the Sutler family sends their condolences to your family. And again, I'm sorry for your loss. For my dear friend, Vernon Austin Jr., a great guy. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Neal.
I want to thank Scott Koenig and all of his staff who have done wondrous services. Lord knows we constantly contact him when we have a problem. They come through. They have to get the contractors to go do their job, the staff members to do their job. And I just want to say how much we appreciate what the work done by you and your staff, Scott, because without you, we couldn't get through these streets and couldn't get back to work today. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Hutchinson.
Scott, if you would be so kind, just to give us an update on where we stand now on the snow emergency.
Yes, so we went into snow operations around 7 p.m., full 12-hour shifts on Friday night. We have a 12-hour shift that's in right now, even though it's somewhat reduced because we're going to begin picking up trash again tomorrow. At this point, we believe all the developments have been touched. Some areas we've had slightly better success than others, but all of them have been addressed. We're still addressing concerns overnight related to freezing. There's been a number of staff members that have participated in this, including many from the Public Works Department, warehousing, fleet, the electric department, the police department, code, fire. Almost every city employee at some point in this storm will have contributed to the response. And I certainly applaud their efforts. We have had 3 different contractors in assisting us over the weekend. And I think they will wind down probably tonight if they have not already wound down. And we will continue cleanup efforts over the next few days, trucking some snow out, getting back to normal trash collection. We had 3 large water main breaks over the weekend that slowed down progress. We were called off on a number of emergency calls with the fire department and EMS to assist getting vehicles to certain locations. Staff has been doing everything they can to keep operations moving. And certainly we appreciate people's patience because the people who got plowed out last have been very, I think, patient and at times upset with the operation. But we certainly appreciate the fact that in general, we think we've responded to the storm. We've gotten anywhere from, I think, 14 to 17 inches, depending on where you're at in the city. And I would like to say thank you to each and every individual that contributed. If I've left anybody out, I apologize because it has been a very long weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Any further announcements from council members? Councilman Anderson.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to also thank the members of the Dover Fire Department for inviting us to be part of their banquet last week, their awards banquet, and I want to thank them for their service each and every day. Our fire, our police, our emergency services do a tremendous job around the clock, and our fire department is volunteer, and we just thank them for what they do. And one of the great aspects is that our fire department is adjusting to the 21st century well, and if anyone thought that maybe they wouldn't be welcome to it, you're wrong. And I would encourage everyone to check out the fire department in whichever way that they feel comfortable. And,
Thank you.
and then February 27th, yes, the annual chili cook-off will be at Griston Life Center this year, 12 to 4, which will benefit the Veterans United Outreach and the MLK Junior Educational Center. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Sutler.
I just want to echo what Councilman Anderson said. I really enjoyed the banquet for the City of Dover's Fire Department. It was very enlightening. I look forward to working with you, as I said earlier, and I appreciate all of the volunteers for the fire department and what they've done for the City of Dover. Thank you.
Any further announcements from council members? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Sutler, seconded by Councilman Neal. Is there any discussion? Stand adjourned. Thank you, gentlemen.